It's the state's understanding that Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Porter are in agreement with regard to a change in child support from the temporary orders. Specifically, Your Honor, we're basing it on $18.50 per hour for Mr. Gonzalez, no other children besides the two in this case, and the father having health insurance for the children while the mother has dental and no reimbursement. Specifically, Your Honor, we're looking at current child support in the amount of, my screen timed out. $649 per month, starting November 1st. Additionally, Your Honor, parents are in agreement that the arrears shown on the state's financial activity report, $3,885.29 as of yesterday, should be reduced by $2,296. And that's the difference between what temporary ordered support was set at and what Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez has actually been earning, to leave a balance of $1,589.29. The state's requesting appropriate repayment. Interest on it appears to be $8 a month. We're asking for the full confirmation of the $1,216.04 in medical support arrears and an appropriate repayment, with interest being roughly $7 a month. And then, Your Honor, I'll defer. Well, one last thing before I defer to Ms. Schwartz is with regard to retroactive support. It appears that the mother was not seeking any, and the state has no objection to that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have been in touch with everyone and have spoken with the caseworker who's here today to testify regarding the CPS case and some concerns that I had. What I am requesting today is that visitation, which has currently only been permitted to be virtual, change to supervised for 4 hours a week by Mr. Gonzalez's father or any other persons agreed to in writing by the parents, and that can be expanded by agreement, and that's based on the evidence that you'll hear today, including the caseworker testimony. I still have some concerns, but I think supervised visitation can be safe.
All right, then, let's go ahead and get some witness testimony, and I can see what everybody already knows that I don't know, so we'll figure this one out. So at this time, is Ms. Porter the representative from the from CPS?
No, Your Honor, Ms. Breen is.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong name. I'm sorry. Yeah, but okay. Sorry, I thought I had a different name for the CP, but I didn't. All right, never mind. Call your first witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start by calling Miss Porter.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're home with the children today, correct?
Yes, ma'am. We're getting over pneumonia right now.
Okay. Are you somewhere private?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what is your name for the record?
Cassidy Deborah Renee Porter.
Okay. And you're the mother in this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have the children been doing well in your care?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it correct that you're in agreement with moving to supervised visitation in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that would be appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. And you're comfortable with Mr. Gonzalez's father supervising visits?
Yes, ma'am. I don't really have a problem with him.
Okay. And any other supervisors you agree that you would be open to agreeing to anyone else who might be safe?
I think the kids might need to get to know her first, but his fiance, you know, but I think the kids should get to know her before.
Okay. So you'd be more comfortable doing that by agreement down the road than having her included now?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Bungad, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Porter, were you able to hear my opening statement to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that a correct description of the agreements we have concerning the financial matters?
Yes, ma'am.
So while the temporary order may have reserved the issue of retroactive or back child support, you're not wanting that at this time?
No, ma'am.
And then, ma'am, as far as the current support, you were in agreement with the numbers I stated that were based on Mr. Gonzalez's income and you providing dental while he maintains the health insurance through his employer.
Yes, ma'am.
And then with the temporary orders, Ms. Porter, you recalled that we were using the projected Tesla income of $22 an hour, and we're wanting to give Mr. Gonzalez a break since he actually didn't get that job and has worked at the $18.50 a rate.
Yes, ma'am.
So having seen our current financial activity report in an email or as in the portal, you were in agreement with us giving that credit of $2,296 against the $3,885.29 owed as of yesterday,
Yes, ma'am.
and then keeping the full $1,216.04 for medical support arrears.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have any preference about what the court sets at repayment, or just you're fine with whatever the court sets?
Yeah, whatever, y'all. Yeah.
And ma'am, with the dental coverage, that is through you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And
It's through
you were
my,
not, oh, sorry, you were saying?
it's through my employer.
And you're
Oh,
not seeking any reimbursement from Mr. Gonzalez for the monthly premium?
no, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Your Honor, I pass this witness.
All right, thank you very much. Anything on redirect, Ms. Schwartz?
Just one question, Your Honor, I apologize. Ma'am, is it fair to say that you're not comfortable with overnights at this time?
Yeah, I don't know about overnight right now.
Okay, and do you believe that these recommendations are in the best interest of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass witness.
All right, anything else on that witness, Ms. Bongette?
No, Your Honor.
All right, call your next witness, Ms. Schwartz. Thank you.
I'd like to call Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, all right. Mr. Gonzalez, state your full name for the record, sir.
It's Gustavo Jordan Gonzalez.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, you're the father in this case, correct?
I tell you what, Mrs. Schwartz, let's go ahead and call the
caseworker?
Yeah, the caseworker, because there may be some questions you need to bounce off of him and her based on what she testifies to. So yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be the other way around. All right, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Miss Breen,
Yes, ma'am.
is the CPS case currently closed?
Yes, ma'am. I closed the family-based services case.
Okay. And family-based services means that it was never in front of a judge officially. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it means that there was never any custody taken by DFPS into conservatorship.
And would you say that both parents cooperated fully with the case?
Fairly so. I think I was able to participate more with Cassidy than with Gustavo, but they both contacted me and did communicate.
Okay. What were the services requested for the father in this case?
So this case was transferred to me halfway through the case. So I am not completely sure of what the services were originally, but what I had asked of him was co-parenting and therapy and possibly anger management or something along those lines to address the domestic violence and the CPS concerns with the argument that
Sorry, please continue with the argument that.
with the argument that occurred that caused CPS to become involved and resulted in this FBSS case most recently.
Okay. And was there also a criminal case arising out of that incident?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And are you aware of the services he had to do through the criminal probation?
I think he had to do a BIP program, and that's something that we talked about towards the end of my case before leaving.
So when you were working with him, did you have frequent communication?
It was on and off. It was not as consistent as Ms. Porter.
And how long were you on the case?
I received it January, the very start of January, and I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we closed it around April. It was only maybe 4 or 5 months.
Okay. And during that time, did you feel you had enough contact with both parents to get an idea of what was going on with them?
I think so. Most of my services focused with setting up Ms. Porter. So I had a lot of contact and was able to observe her interactions with the children. I had probably at least 5 face-to-face visits with Mr. Gonzalez. And so I feel as though that was adequate enough for me to observe.
Were there issues with Mr. Gonzalez getting started with his services?
There was a bit of difficulty having to navigate contact information and trying to figure out where we were living and just contacting and starting that communication. And there were some lulls in between, just trying to get services and kind of check in. But towards the end of the case, I was able to get in contact with him.
And was there open communication about what was going on with those services and why they weren't started?
It was very difficult to, what he explained to me was having to deal with the legal aspect of all of this, and he was very focused on this side of it, the custody part, and was wanting to make sure he felt represented. So most of our conversations revolved around referring like resources to him so that way he could access legal care, and me being able to provide like supportive classes and information saying, hey, this may help like your case, and this, if you complete this class, so let's keep going. But there was not deep discussions on any I guess measurable progress.
So did you feel like he took responsibility for what happened?
I do feel like he recognized the overall concern of the lack of healthy communication and healthy behavior around the children. But I do not feel like he took that and put it into action as much as the department would have preferred.
And you said that you had provided a lot of services based on your conversation. How was the follow through on those services and classes?
We talked about therapy, and I referred him to therapy, but then there was not a like a follow up with that to see like, hey, did we talk to the therapist, or hey, I don't know if this is working. Do we have any other options? And then we talked about co-parenting, and that was my biggest focus, was wanting him to take a co-parenting course, which he did complete, and he submitted to me the certificate at the end of the case. But that did take quite a while, and it wasn't a very long course. I usually try to take most courses myself to know how to pace it, and it doesn't take super long. I think it's 15 hours. And everything else was really kind of waiting and focusing on, okay, if we can get these things completed, then we could move on.
Was there an issue with honesty during the case?
I did feel as though there was not complete transparency about concerns or even just where we were. I explained to him that, like all my parents, I am absolutely okay with meeting anybody where we are, as long as we can be honest and move forward. And it did feel like there were quite a bit of excuses, or just the excuse of, well, I have to focus on my custody stuff, and I don't have time for all of these other classes, which I did feel like were easily manageable and able to fit into his schedule.
Does that concern you when it comes to co-parenting?
It does. I see a lot of cases where parents only want to highlight the more positive aspects of the time that they had with the kids, but they sometimes don't want to admit, like, okay, I got frustrated, or I did this, or I probably didn't make the best decision, so this is what happened, and now the child is a bit upset, and we have to address why the child doesn't want to go back the next week. And clear communication and recognizing mistakes does help a lot in that.
Did you see any issues with impulse control?
Yes, for the most part, Mr. Gustavo was very polite and was able to keep great conversation and listen. But there was a concerning moment towards the end of the case where I had visited him and explained that the case was heading to close, and he had spoken with his fiance, and they had a new puppy who had had an accident on the floor as I walked in, and he apologized. And I explained it was not a concern, it was no big deal. Puppies do that. And the quick response to him yelling at his fiance and calling her over to come get her dog. I did interrupt, and I said that I didn't think that that was necessary to speak to her about that in a house that they shared together. And he clarified that it was her dog because she agreed to take care of it, and that even if he was on the lease and she wasn't, or whatever the situation was with that, that it was going to be his responsibility, and he didn't want those types of accidents, which I could understand. But I definitely felt that that could have been approached in a kinder way, and that would be concerning if that had happened in front of the child.
And was that after he had engaged in the services that he'd engaged through for CPS?
Yes.
Okay. And was the initial incident that caused the CPS case related to impulse control as well?
Yes, on both parts, it was a situation where pretty much the family was arguing over who could have the child and who couldn't. And it was concerning that anger management was not able to be handled, and it turned into almost a brawl. So that was something that CPS wanted to address, was being able to manage our impulses, manage our anger, and being able to know that when children are present, we should not be behaving aggressively.
And had he already taken anger management at that point?
I am not aware.
Okay. Had he taken therapy?
Therapy had been referred to him at that point, yes, but I am not sure if it was continued or if he started his own.
Okay. And did you see him learning anything from the services he engaged in?
I was not able to observe any measurable change or significant behavioral change, just in general. His interactions with me were very consistent, and it did not seem like his mentality of anything changed much.
Would you be concerned about what could happen with the children being alone with him?
I do believe that he is capable of keeping the children safe. and is able to report if there was an injury. And I do not believe that he would severely harm the children. I am concerned about, again, the impulse situation and being able to navigate the unspoken requests of children. I know the children are still younger, and they are unpredictable. 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 1-year-olds, they are very, they're just children. And sometimes you have to kind of pivot. And I worry that maybe if we were in a difficult or stressed headspace, that it would be concerning that he may be overwhelmed and could act out of impulse.
Okay. And do you think that some of the ways he might act might be unsafe?
I think verbally, in any type of like verbal emotional, I definitely think that we have room for improvement on that. Right now, I think it's not completely unsafe.
Do you believe that supervised visitation is appropriate?
Absolutely. I think that would be wonderful.
Okay. Is that your preference over unsupervised visitation based on where we are
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And why is that?
From my perspective, if we were having to reevaluate the situation or continue the case, we would do a safety assessment. And part of that is recognizing if a parent is able to admit that there is harm or that actions and behaviors that they've committed in the past or are still participating in the present, they can recognize that fault. With supervising, you have somebody else that can kind of help you learn that behavior as you're practicing. We absolutely use supervised visits all the time to encourage people.
Okay. And were there more services that you would have wanted to give him if he were going to be the primary parent, if that makes sense?
Yes. I would absolutely encourage a full therapeutic intervention with parenting and just dealing with past traumas, because we're, as you know, young parents, it's hard having to deal with everything that piles up very quickly. And sometimes in our own situations when we don't have that perspective of being raised however we would want to raise our own kids in a healthy way, we absolutely need help. And sometimes that little eagle eye, that third voice, can be a very good encouragement.
And is it fair to say that that wasn't necessary because of Ms. Porter's progress to keep the case open longer?
Yes, yes. Our immediate concerns are to make sure that the children are physically safe, are monitored, and have protective parents who are able to advocate for them.
And finally, was there a time that Mr. Gonzalez was dishonest in a courtroom setting?
From what I was told by Miss Porter, I was told that there was some hearing that I had not been in, that he said that he was either living out of his car or he was not in the apartment that I had known him to be in. And I told her, because she shared that with me, saying, okay, well, I don't know how to continue that. And I explained that I did not think he was homeless or was living out of his car, and that I thought he was safe and in an apartment. And it was later I visited him in that apartment again, and he was still there and had the rental agreement. So I am not sure if that was said in court, but if it was, that was not the case from what I observed.
And I guess with the puppy incident, did it concern you that that happened in front of you?
Yes, that I definitely would expect, especially in my position, sometimes people try to be on, extra heightened to be on their best behavior, I guess. And I think just the snappiness of yelling, it did startle me a little bit also, which have not had that happen many times before.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Anything on, I'm sorry. Anything on recross, Ms. Mungat?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, then, this witness be excused, Ms. Swartz.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. You're free to go, ma'am. And I'll let you call your next witness then, Ms. Swartz. Thank you.
And that would be Mr. Gonzalez, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, state your full name for the record, sir.
It's Gustavo Jordan Gonzalez, sir.
All right, thank you. You may proceed at this time, Ms. Swartz. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez, were you in agreement with having your father supervise your visitation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and were you wanting that to happen on Fridays due to your work schedule?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Were you ordered to take a BIP class for your probation?
Correct.
How many classes do you have left in that?
I probably have maybe 10. It's a 24-week class, so it's like 6 months for like the whole class.
Okay, and when did you start taking that?
Honestly, I honestly don't know because this was probably like 3 or 4 months ago now. So we've had a couple reschedules because every Thursday we have court. Like on this Thursday, like this morning I was supposed to be at a BIP class, but I got an excuse because like there's been like 3 or 4 BIP classes that I missed because I had to show up to court here today. So yeah, and then he's also rescheduled because of like holidays. But other than that, like I've never willingly like missed an appointment. I try to be attended with it, and I try to do my homework and actually take it serious.
Okay. Were there any other services through your probation that you've been working on?
Right now I got the card right now. I'm about to be going on to an anger management class. It's a 6-hour class, online course. It's like $45. I'm gonna go ahead and just hop on it and start it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, because you asked also more. Other than that, other than the bib classes, I know like I don't know if getting my GED. I'm supposed to be working on getting my GED. I don't know if that's like a program or something. I don't know. Sorry, miss.
Okay. And are you still engaging in any therapy or anything like that?
No, I have not. I recall that the CPS caseworker,
Okay.
I honestly forgot her name. Oh, go ahead, Your Honor. Sorry.
I'm sorry. You answered the question, sir. You don't have to go into details. She'll explain
Okay,
what she's
yeah,
thinking.
then no, ma'am, or no, ma'am, I have not.
Thank you.
Okay. And is Friday your current day off?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are the children currently in school?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So are you asking for right now for your visitations to be on Fridays?
Yes, ma'am, or just whatever works with mine and Cassidy's schedule.
Okay.
Or
And
Cassidy's schedule.
are you in agreement that y'all could agree to another day in writing?
Yeah, as long as there's communication, and we're able to talk about it.
And has there been good communication?
I would like to say I mean, at first there was really good communication, but I feel like since these past couple of days, since court has ended up, I've tried to message Cassidy consistently and call her. She's missed a Sunday like last week. She missed a Sunday and was like, "Oh, I was just chilling at home or whatever," and I just let that pass. She was going to schedule with me again. Did it again. I did it last Sunday, but yes, I've been trying to communicate. I leave messages. She just leaves me on read. So I have no clue.
Okay. When you say missed a Sunday, what are you talking about?
Not this Sunday, but last Sunday.
Are you
Sunday FaceTime we have from 3 to 3:30. Yeah, sorry about that, miss.
okay. Okay. I will pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Bungay.
Mr. Gonzalez, were you able to hear my opening statement regarding my belief about the agreements on financial matters?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, sir, the current support amounts are acceptable to you based on your current employment and you maintaining health while Ms. Porter maintains dental?
Correct.
And then as far as the arrears, you understand how we got to the new balances and the court will set a repayment amount unless you've got a preference?
Can you define that for me exactly?
So based
Or
on the
put it in a
temporary
smart word?
orders, Mr. Gonzalez, you had both a child and medical support order, correct?
Yes.
And I believe we discussed, and Ms. Porter and I went into it a little, that the court set it based on the $22 an hour you thought you'd be getting if you got the job with Tesla.
Yes, ma'am.
And so Ms. Porter was willing to give you the credit of the difference between support set at the $22 and the 18.5 you're currently earning. So you don't owe the full 3,000 plus amount we said you did on child support arrears.
Gotcha. That works.
And so the remaining balance we're looking at having you pay back for child support arrears is $1,589.29. And then the full $1,216.04 on the medical support arrears.
Okay.
And so for those two things, sir, it's $8 of interest on the child support and $7 of interest on the medical support. Do you have any requests of the court in terms of what repayment will be set at?
Yeah, but really I just want to figure out what's the like all amount together that I'm supposed to be paying.
All right, Ms. Bungay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit them at $40 each on each of those, okay?
Yes,
And
Your
then
Honor.
give them the math on that 80 plus what the child support and the current cash medical are, okay? Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. And so to answer your question, Mr. Gonzalez, with your current amount being or about to change to screens, $649 for the child support plus the 80, that brings you to $729.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And so, sir, depending on how often you're paid, that's when your employer will withdraw a portion of that and send it in. But obviously, you can always do direct payments yourself. So, or sorry, direct to the state disbursement unit, so you're not hit with interest if they're late.
Okay.
Anything else, sir, you wanted clarification on regarding the financial matters?
No, ma'am.
And sir, how long or when will the health insurance for your children be effective through your work?
If I'm correct, January.
Yeah, why is it taking so long, sir?
That's an enrollment period, or what's the month after December?
January.
December. Yeah, January. It's an enrollment.
Okay, here's the deal, sir. Got a court order.
My
They can do it
job
tomorrow.
has like.
You don't have to,
guess-
sir, just a second. This is a court order. You don't have to wait.
Can you say that again?
This is a court order. You don't have to wait for enrollment. Court orders supersedes that, and that can begin immediately because you are to put the child on on that insurance, sir. Okay.
Wait, can you say that again, sir? You just cut out. Sorry about that.
Okay. You don't have to wait for enrollment with a court order, sir. The court order means it can be done immediately. You don't have to wait for enrollment. It can be done immediately. All right.
Okay.
All you gotta do is give your employer a copy of the order, and they gotta open your enrollment for that right then, right there. All right.
Thank you, sir. I'll give him a call right after this.
All right. Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Bongak.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Mr. Gonzalez, the two children you have with Ms. Porter are your only children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, I pass this witness.
All right. Anything else on redirect, Ms. Schwartz?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then let's go ahead and look at closing at this time. I'm looking at probably doing, I think we got the support stuff ironed out, the repayments ironed out. I'm going to look at doing that. I'm going to go ahead and grant the visitation package as per the request of the Atlanta and agreements of the parties going forward until further order of the court. Dad's going to do it on Fridays. Obviously, so long as there's no school or something like that, that'll work. But once there's school and this is still ongoing, then they'll have to move to appropriate date on that. But they can agree to that also. I need to warn both parties. The court orders the court order when the visitation is supposed to take place. When the online stuff is supposed to take place, the FaceTime, you do it. There's no excuses. If you don't do that, then you're in violation of the court order, and the court can deal with that by contempt, which is a fine or jail time. So always follow the court order completely. Obviously, if there's some type of emergency, like you had to take somebody to an emergency room, fine. But there's no excuse for not following the court order for any type of visitation or any type of child support. And sir, yeah, I was looking at the child support payment record. It's abysmal. Going forward, sir, fix this and pay in full. And that way you won't see me on a enforcement Wednesday, which you really don't want to see me on. Okay. So anyway,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start with the state. With Latham as far as based on what I just did, what closing would that Latham like to give, and what closing would the state like to give? Thank you. And then I'll let the parties give a closing if they wish.
Your Honor, just to say that I think it was very clear with the caseworker's testimony that she feels there is room for growth here with Mr. Gonzalez, and there's the hope that the parents will keep co-parenting and get better at it. And so we're all hoping for that. We just are hoping that there continues to be progress. But right now, this is where we're at.
All right, Ms. Bongat.
Your Honor, in review of the temporary orders, you had the conservatorship at mother, sole, father, possessory. You did include all rights. Non-disclosure was ordered for both parents, or apologies, just the mother, and the issue of court costs was reserved. So other than that, Your Honor, the state's just requesting final rulings on it all.
All right, then. All right, at this time, Ms. Porter, anything else you want to tell the court? Anything you have a closing as far as a closing statement, ma'am?
Were you talking to me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, are we still doing I'm a little confused. Are we still doing the video visit Sunday as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The temporary order, I'm getting ready to make the temporary order final, and that's going to be part of the order, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes, Your Honor.
anything in closing, sir? Closing statement.
No, sir. Just thank you for your time.
All right, then. Like I said, I've got Mr. Gonzalez has been convicted of family violence, correct? So I've got a name. I got to keep the conservatorship the same way it is. Mom sold, dad, he's possessory. He gets all the rights under possessory that he's entitled to, that are not in contradiction of anything he has as far as his terms and conditions, parole or probation, I think is what he's on. So if any of those terms have to be complied with, otherwise they can revoke him and put him in jail. So, but everything else he's entitled to as a possessor conservator, he's entitled. Visitation package, as the court has already ruled, and child support and cash medical going forward at the amounts that have been testified to, based on the fact he didn't get the job at Tesla. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do the child support and cash medical there. Judgments of both child support and cash medical are reduced. Repayment on the child support and an extra $40 a month, and on the cash medical, an extra $40. So that makes it $48, $47 in addition to current child support. I'm going to go ahead, like I say, set the visitation package, and I'll tell you, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you one break here today, sir. I'm going to go ahead and waive court costs at this time, and allow the state to prepare that order and circulate amongst everyone as per the norm. So, Ms. Bongat, anything else, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Swartz, anything else, ma'am?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Ms. Bongat, you can go back in the breakout room, or Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Porter free to go?
For this order, Your Honor, they're free to go.
All right, folks, you're free to go. You're going to get a copy of this by DocuSign. Again, review it, sign off on it. And like I said, ma'am and sir, the order controls everything under child support has to be done, and has to be done on time. Payments are due the first of the month. If you're not paid by the last day of the month, then you're in violation of the court order. And visitation, whether it's electronic or live, has to be done as per the court order. Otherwise, you're in violation of the court order. So don't violate the court order. And try to start definitely work on y'all's communication. Sorry. Of course, gotta look at one other thing here. Yeah, that's what I thought it'd be. Young kids, so y'all gonna be doing this for a while, so good luck with it, all right? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we're off the record. And y'all are free to go. Thank you.